YouTube, we are back in relation to the Exciting Comics Mike Night Tiger's book, and we have the interior here. Just some channel announcements. If you haven't already, please go check out the Bronze Age tier to my 3,000 subscriber giveaway. There are some pretty good books that are in the prize package, so check it out and give me a comment and let me know how you think the prize package is. So what are we doing today? What we're doing today is we're going to go over the interior of the book, because we're going hot and heavy. I'm going to be going quick and fast on this book. My family is going away this Sunday to Monday without me because I have to work on Monday. So I'm going to have all day Sunday to dedicate to finishing, hopefully, this book. And the question that we have is whether to lighten up the page or the cover again a little bit more. Check out the upload regarding that. I feel that it should stay the way it is. Too white is not good because it's a vintage book, obviously. So regardless of what we do with the cover, we have to work on the interior. Now, as I mentioned, I believe in the first or second upload, I feel that there are staples that were added not by an individual later in date. What I think is that right here you have 1, 2, and you have on the top 1, 2. I think these staples were added at the factory, and I think it was a misstaple. We all heard of miscuts, but I think that these staples were done at the factory in the printing process, because they are very similar. And they are the same type of staples based on my initial inspection. So this, in my opinion, is something that we have to decide, or at least Mike has to decide, whether we want to try to replace or put the 4 staples in, or make it a traditional 2 staple book. But this is something that is very interesting. So what I want to do now is I'm going to pause the upload because I want to take a picture of these, a very close picture to maybe use for the thumbnail or just for reference. And then we'll be right back. So hang loose. Okay, guys, we're back. I took a few photos, and I still don't know whether these are factory, but we're going to try to get to the bottom of it. But what I want to do now is I want to remove them. And by removing them, we're going to use some paper, painter's tape. We're going to put a top on the top here. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to place the staples on the tape after I take them off, and we are going to inspect them further. So funny thing is, let's take a look at the additional staples on the top and one right here on the bottom. So when I was taking photos, I realized that they are going through, or they did go through the whole book, but the last page was pulled out because you can see the holes right here. So right now, here is the back end of the staple. Here's the back end of the bottom staple right here. And what I want to do is I want to remove the staple. So I'm going to just use my fingernails, and I'm going to gently bend it up straight so we can push it out. And as we all know, that I recommend that if you're removing staples that you do not use metal tools. But in this case, we are conserving the book. So to a degree, metal tools can be used, because the reason why you don't want to use metal tools is you don't want to scratch the staple, and that is a sure sign to CGC that you are tampering the staples, and you don't want to trigger a conserved grade if you're not intending to get a conserved grade. So as you can see, I knocked the prongs of the staple up pretty good, and I think I'll be able to push it through. So all I want to do is use my tool, and when I handle old comics, I like to use either my bone or my mini spatula to handle, because then we decrease the risk of damaging the book itself. So there we go. I'm pulling it out, and believe it or not, I believe that this staple may be the factory staple here. And the reason why I'm saying it is the factory staple is because there is a piece of the cover underneath. So here is the staple. So this is further evidence that these multiple staples are from the factory. Okay, so this is the staple right here. I'm going to place it on the cover of the interior or the splash page, and then I'm going to try to place the staples in order on my tape, because it's very important to me to keep things in order. When I restore cars or work on cars, I like to take photos of the bolts, how I take them off, and things of that nature. So when I put it back, I put it back in the same fashion that I took it off. So right here is a piece of the graphic for the cover. I'm going to put this aside on my plate with all the pieces of tape. Then I'm going to try to remove some of the graphics and reunite it back with the cover when I leaf cast it. So that's bottom staple 1. Now I want to work on bottom staple 2 right here. So I want to find out where the prongs are, excuse my clock, where the prongs are protruding through the book. And I have a feeling this upload is going to be all about the staples. We're not going to go any further with other than the staples, because I think it's pretty cool that there is a misstaple in this book. And whether I'm going to be crazy or not and recommend to be putting the misstaples back in as they were from the factory, that is entirely up to Mike. It's not my decision. So right here is the centerfold of the book, and here is the second factory staple. These, based on what I'm seeing right now, are factory staples, guys. So this is a misstaple book, and it's pretty cool in my opinion. Now the bottom staple prong is right here. So what I want to try to do is I want to try to get my fingernail underneath, just like that. You can use tools, you can use other devices, but I like to use God's tools, what I was born with. And now we're going to pull out very gently the second factory bottom staple, okay? And I'm going to place it on my tape next to the first bottom staple that I took out, just like that, so I know that this is the second one, and we'll have a good situation where we can put these back if Mike wants it to be done that way. I don't think he will personally. Here is one of the top staples, or the only top staple. And we're gonna take that out right now too. We're gonna take it out nice and gentle by putting my fingernail underneath and just slowly pulling it up. That's one prong. And now I'm gonna do the second prong. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, when I'm doing this right now, I'm doing it sort of just by feel, because I'm not even getting close with it. And I do wear glasses and my eyes have been failing a little bit more every year that I get older. So I'm doing this by feel and nothing else. And it's working. So we're gonna pull this guy out. And this is a conservation light that I'm doing. So right now I don't know what we're going to do with the interior of the book. We're going to assess it. I don't think that I'm going to be doing any form of leaf casting of the interior. There you go. There is the second staple, or the third staple. Now we have one more staple right here. So getting back to what I was saying, I don't think I'm going to do any form of leaf casting. I think I'm going to do something a little different, and the little different that I'm going to do is I may, in fact, do tear seals with mulberry paper if need be, maybe some Tengojo. I like doing that on the interior sometimes because this book definitely seems like it's in pretty decent shape. So right here is the bottom prong of the top staple. Let's straighten that out. Okay. And I still have to find the top prong. And then once I find it, I'll straighten that guy out. And this is definitely a cool situation right here where we do have a factory misstaple of 4 staples in one book. If anyone has seen that in the past, let me know. I know a lot of you guys who watch the channel and ladies do have Golden Age books, so this is a little strange here. Let's see if I can pull this out. And there we go. Okay, so that was an odd shaped staple. Check that out. I don't know if Mike's gonna want that in. There is some paper loss that occurred. So we're gonna clean this book up. We're gonna fix it up for Mike on the interior. And that is it for this upload, guys. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to assess this. I was going to put this in the humidity chamber, but not at this point. There is a piece of tape right here, as you can see. Let's see if we can get that off, because it does seem dried up, and maybe we don't even have to do any type of solvents, which I would prefer not to. And there you go. I wish it was all dried up like that in the cover, but it wasn't. So there's no tackiness here. It's ancient tape. There is staining, but I'm gonna have to think what we're gonna have to do with the inside of this book. It is in pretty decent shape. I am not going to leaf cast it, I decided, in the interior at all. What we're gonna do is we are going to use, if I need to do any form of repairs, I'm on the side of my workshop here and I'm looking to see if I have it, and I do have what's called mulberry paper. It's not Tengojo. It is a different form of repair paper that I've used in the past. I am looking for it. I'm being a little unorganized right now. So what we're going to do is we are going to use mulberry paper. This is where I store my paper, guys, that I use. Maybe this is something that's interesting. So let's zoom out so you guys can see. And I do have all different forms of papers that I use for the conservation. So I have 2 forms of mulberry paper. And I like using this mulberry. It's very light, and this is deemed as a conservation paper. It's a Japanese mulberry. So what I'll do is, if there is structural damage in the book, in the interior, dealing with pieces missing that need to be filled in, instead of doing leaf casting, I think instead I'm going to do mulberry paper. I'll insert the mulberry paper in the missing pieces if need be, and before we do the mulberry paper, I will stain it. And I've done this in the past. I'll stain the mulberry paper with various forms of natural products such as tea and whatnot, things like that. Then we'll get it nice and dyed to the color of the interior of the pages. And then after it's dyed, I will insert it, and we'll use Tengojo, and we'll do a bunch of different methods. So this is going to be something that's going to be fun for the viewers who actually do these things, because by watching me do the mulberry repairs, you'll be able to do it at home if you don't have a leaf casting table. So a little bit about mulberry, a little bit about using Tengojo, a little bit about Misstaples, and just a general overview regarding the interior, what we're planning to do. So stay tuned, guys. I'll see you soon, and thank you for supporting the channel.